Hello. I have our read for the day. So somebody has been working on being self-sufficient and making decisions. They were dealing with a domineering family member, and there's going to be a truth that's going to be revealed to them on how exactly they're, or on the next steps, I guess I should say. Yeah, next steps on how to manifest their ideas. There's something that they've been working on, and they had to break away from family who is just overbearing, domineering, kind of anytime. Didn't matter if the family agreed with what the person was doing or not. They had to try and take over and tell them exactly how to do it. And sometimes it's done out, when people do that, sometimes it's done out of malice, and sometimes it's done out of love because people can't step back and let people learn and grow on their own. And for this situation, for this read, I don't think it really matters on what kind of, on how or why they decided that they were going to be domineering. But we should be proud of this person because they've broken away from it and they're making their own decisions now. There's going to be a sudden ending, and you're confused about the next step in making choices. Like there were things that were going to happen, and they kind of happened in the way and how you thought, and you know this ending is coming and you know what it is, but then you're like, then what? What do we do? How do I make things work then? And you're not really sure, but there's going to be a truth revealed. Like it's going to come clear to you. It's going to become obvious as to how you are going to take those next steps once this ending has taken place. You are, and the universe is encouraging you to stay determined and cheerful and confident. You are handling all the situations that are thrown at you with as much grace as you possibly can. That is easier said than done, in my opinion. But you are doing it, and they want you to continue to do it. There are financial opportunities that are going to arise, and you can't see them yet. But the situation isn't as bad. It's being stated that the situation isn't as bad as you imagined. It's not as bad as you imagined. Card puller's remorse. I feel like I should have gotten another one on that Eight of Swords, because you can't, situation isn't as bad as you imagined. Let's do the bicycle deck cards, shall we? We'll do like we normally do. We'll start with 3 and then we'll work from there if we need more. Gathering knowledge. And swords, for me, it stands for truth, for communication and for truth. So it's something that you're going to be learning. This is not something, you don't really have to worry about the who, what, when, and where. It's more of like a divine timing thing. The universe is going to put things in the past so that you are aware of choices that need to be made, when you need to make them, and have clarity happen, have a truth happen about what next steps you need to take to continue to be very, very happy. Let's do 2 more. Channeling Horus today. Defending oneself. Defending oneself or mystery? Mystery. Oh, nope, I was wrong. Defending oneself. Family is still going to be an issue. Make sure that you have strong boundaries in place. When you and you have to have strong boundaries in place with your well, you should have good boundaries with everybody, but with your family, because once your family is domineering, or not once, if your family is domineering, they will continue to look for signs of weakness, signs of waning, to be able to work their way in and start to control things again. So it's very, very important that you create boundaries, you create consequences for breaking those boundaries, and then you stick to it. I was talking to somebody else today who has been working on their boundaries. And so I think this is just a thing. It's maybe like we're channeling Horus today, who he's a protection deity, right? So that kind of makes sense. But if we'll use this person for example. So they have family members who decided that they did not like the religion that she practices, and not really her religion, but she doesn't really have a religion, but she's spiritual, and they didn't like how she was being spiritual, because they are a specific religion, and they are closed-minded about other religions that are out there. That happens. I don't know why. Indoctrination, I'm assuming, and being raised and told that there's only one religion, I guess. In my opinion, all religions are real, all religions are valid, and I believe that if celebrated correctly, then it can lead you, it can help guide your moral compass and lead you to a higher vibrational life. Whether or not that happens, I think that's up to you. But when she started to walk a more spiritual path, she had told them, she said, this is not I just want to let you know that this is something that's going on. This is not something that's up for discussion. And then the other day, they came into the house at her home. They came into her home and were saying how they thought it was inappropriate for her to practice spirituality, because she should only practice being spiritual in a church. There's only one religion. There's only one way to be spiritual. And she said, this is just who I am. But what she didn't do is she didn't reinforce her boundary. And so that's a conversation that we had today about how it's important. I said, so we were talking, and I said, I think it's very important that you reiterate your boundary, that you are going to practice your spirituality and they don't really have a say in your spirituality. I think it's very important for you to come up with a consequence if they choose to continue to cross your boundary, but you have personal autonomy and you get to do what you want. So I just reminded her that she had a boundary. Transformation. She's working on herself, and I think you are as well. It's a process, right? It's just it's, you know, so it's just, it's not easy. And I explained to her my struggles. I explained to her about how my family struggled with my boundaries, and how I eventually had to cut off family members who couldn't respect my wishes and couldn't respect my boundaries. I believe in treating everybody with love and respect, and if you can't treat me with love and respect, then that is, then we aren't going to associate anymore. So that's just kind of an example of the type of thing that you're going to have to do. Your consequences for your boundary crossing, those are up to you. But I do think that it's very important to decide what kind of boundaries you are comfortable with, because this is your life. You get to decide how you live it. So you get to decide where you're comfortable, where your boundaries are, and you get to decide on the consequence of people choosing not to respect your boundaries. But then you have to do the really hard part, and that's following through and holding those boundaries. And it is a transformation. It is a process. It is not something that happens overnight, but it is something that's going to make you very, very happy. Okay? I feel like we maybe need just one more card. Master. You're going to master this. You're going to do great. It is okay if you have to if you have to hold your boundaries. If you are sad that you have to hold a boundary, if you are sad that you have to implement a consequence, it's okay to go through the feelings. I know with my family that I had to cut out, there's a grieving process because you are experiencing a death of the family that you deserved. And you're grieving the fact that your family couldn't be the people who you needed them to be. And I'm not saying that you're going to have to cut them off. That's extreme. But sometimes you do have to reinforce boundaries more than once in order to get people who are domineering, especially when their family members are domineering family members. Especially when they're family members, you will have to go through this more than once. It's a process, and it's a process that they are either going to learn from or they won't. But it all depends on what you are comfortable with and where you are comfortable with taking this. You worked really, really hard to get where you are. Don't fall back to where you were, because you have put in so much work. And you've done so much healing. That's very beautiful. And I've had chills all over the place this entire message. So we are on point. If this feels like you, if this is something that you've been working on, stand firm and know that it is okay to make decisions for you and for your family if you have a family. It's okay to hold your grounds. No is a complete sentence. You do not have to. You are not responsible for other people's comfort. You are responsible for your own. And if they are going to be domineering, and if they aren't going to take your happiness and your comfort into place, why would you have to take theirs into place? That's weird. That's it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.